You won't believe how fast things changed in New Zealand rugby because the All Blacks have officially sacked Scott Robertson and now the biggest job in world rugby is wide open. But here's where it gets absolutely insane, because while New Zealand rugby is trying to keep calm and professional, the rugby world is already asking the question nobody wants to say out loud. What if the All Blacks don't just replace Razor? What if they steal one man who's owned them in the biggest moments, Rassie Erasmus? Yeah, that Rassie. The mastermind who turned South Africa into a ruthless winning machine. The guy who knows exactly how to break New Zealand's rhythm. The coach who's been living rent-free in All Blacks fans' heads for years. And now, with New Zealand rugby in full meltdown, the idea of Rassie coaching the All Blacks isn't just a wild fan theory anymore. It's the most dangerous what-if in rugby. Because this isn't just about Scott Robertson being out. This is about New Zealand rugby panicking. It's about a team that's lost its aura. It's about results that didn't match expectations. And it's about a country that expects dominance. Scott Robertson came in after the 2023 World Cup with massive hype. Crusaders dynasty coach, the next aura guy, the man who was supposed to bring the swagger back. And to be fair, it wasn't all bad. He finishes with a win rate around the mid-70s, which on paper looks strong, but the All Blacks don't live on paper, they live on legacy. During his time in charge, there were performances that simply didn't feel like the All Blacks. Games where New Zealand looked flat, moments where the attack felt forced, and losses that hit harder because they weren't just losses, they were warning signs. Behind the scenes, New Zealand Rugby ran an end-of-season review and the conclusion was brutal. They didn't believe the All Blacks were on the right trajectory long term, so Razor was gone just like that. And the reaction was pure chaos. Fans couldn't believe it, pundits were stunned, and World Rugby immediately locked in, because when the All Blacks job becomes available, it's not just news, it's an earthquake. But here's the part that makes the story explode even more. New Zealand Rugby didn't have a clear replacement ready. They've openly said they're casting the wide net, meaning they're searching and considering options. That tells you everything. This wasn't a slow goodbye tour. This wasn't a well transition at the end of the year. This was a move made because New Zealand Rugby felt pressure building. Now they've got a problem, because whoever takes over isn't just the next coach. They're the person responsible for restoring the All Blacks identity. That's why the favourites are already being thrown around. The first name that keeps popping up is Jamie Joseph. Proven coach, calm operator, hard-nosed rugby brain. He's coached internationally, handled pressure, and knows how to build a rugby culture that lasts. Jamie Joseph feels like the safe option. The steady hands appointment that says, we're going back to basics, we're going back to toughness, and we're going back to discipline. Then you've got Tony Brown, a guy respected across world rugby for his attacking ideas and how he sees the space. He's been involved in high-level systems, and he's the type of coach who can turn attack from predictable into lethal. But Tony Brown also comes with reality check. He's not just sitting around waiting for New Zealand Rugby to call. He's been working in the environments where winning is the only language, and that matters. Because if New Zealand Rugby wants a coach who can bring that ruthless edge back, they need someone who doesn't just understand New Zealand Rugby. They need someone who understands how to beat the All Blacks. And that's exactly why Rassie Erasmus' idea has caught fire. Now let's be clear, there's no confirmed report that New Zealand Rugby has approached Rassie Erasmus. There is no official statement saying he's interested. There's no announcement of talks or negotiations. But the reason the story is blowing up is simple. The All Blacks job is open, and Rassie Erasmus is one of the most feared coaching minds on the planet. When you look at what Rassie has done for South Africa, it's not just trophies, it's transformation. He's built a system where players don't just play hard, they play with purpose. He created a team that can win ugly, win pretty, win tight, win chaotic, and still walk away smiling. And that's what makes this conversation so explosive. Because if Rassie can do that with the Springboks, imagine what he could do with the All Blacks. Imagine him with New Zealand's talent pool. Imagine him with New Zealand's speed. Imagine him taking the very team he spent years dismantling and turning them into something even more ruthless. That's the part nobody wants to admit out loud, because it would be the ultimate betrayal in rugby history. The Springboks mastermind leading the All Blacks, that would break the sport. But if New Zealand Rugby truly believes they're not on the right trajectory, why would they play it safe? Why would they just pick the next Kiwi coach and hope it magically fixes itself? Because comfort is exactly what the All Blacks can't afford right now. This is a team that has been challenged like never before in the modern era. Other nations have caught up, defences have evolved, and physicality has gone to another level. And the margins are brutal. The All Blacks don't have the luxury of learning on the job. Every loss becomes a headline. Every poor performance becomes a national debate, and every coach becomes a target. That's why this coaching decision is massive, because the next coach isn't just picking the team. They're rebuilding belief. They're rebuilding fear. They're rebuilding the feeling opponents used to have when they saw the black jersey and thought, we're in trouble. So right now, New Zealand Rugby is at a crossroads. Do they go safe and traditional, or do they go bold and ruthless? Because if New Zealand Rugby truly wanted to send a message to the rugby world, there's no bigger statement than this approach. Rassie Erasmus. Even if he says no, even if it's impossible, even if it sounds insane, just the fact they'd consider it would tell everyone one thing. They're done playing nice. And that's what makes the story so addictive. It's not just about a coach getting sacked. It's about New Zealand Rugby being forced to confront something uncomfortable. The All Blacks are no longer untouchable. They can be beaten. They can be rattled. And if they want to become the most feared team in the world again, they need a coach who understands pressure and knows how to win when everything is collapsing around you. That's what Rassie has built his reputation on. And that's why fans can't stop talking about him. But while the rugby world argues over Rassie, New Zealand Rugby still has to make the real decision. Whoever they choose next will either be remembered as the man who saved the All Blacks or the man who oversaw the decline of the greatest rugby team ever. Because this next era isn't just about rebuilding. It's about survival. It's about reclaiming dominance. It's about proving the world that the All Blacks aren't just a legacy brand. They're still the standard. So the question is simple. If you're New Zealand Rugby, do you go with the safe favourite, or do you choose the most dangerous coach in the rugby world and risk creating the biggest controversy the sport has ever seen? Because if Rassie Erasmus has ever become the All Blacks coach, it wouldn't just change New Zealand Rugby, it would change rugby forever. Ever wanted to create your own rugby highlights channel just like this one? With my course, the YouTube Creator Toolkit, I show you exactly how I do it, from the tools I use to the templates I built. You get everything. Just copy, paste, and start creating. Learn how to grow your channel, keep viewers hooked, and turn views into income. Click the link in the description below to learn more and start your channel today. Now back to the video. If you enjoyed this breakdown and you want more rugby stories just like this, make sure you hit the like button, share it with a mate who will argue about it for hours, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what happens next, because the All Blacks coaching saga is only getting started. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. Peace!